Are you curious what was fixed and what wasn't fixed with Thursday's surprise game update for The Sims 4? I'm here to discuss that. Hello, my name is Jennifer and welcome to my Sims 4 news video. So on the Sims Discord, we got this message. Sul Simmers, we're rolling out our next update for The Sims 4 with adjustments based on community feedback. Of course, we actually hadn't got a laundry list, hence why it was a surprise. And they go on to talk about what the focus was, but the majority of the bug fixes were for the new Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack. But they say the update will focus mainly on bringing a smoother experience to your gameplay, along with a bug fix that will improve stability across base game and multiple packs. And then we should expect to see an easier way to use the skillful sleep skill, improvements with small business lots, and fixes to user interface issues during employee section, which is all for the new pack, and more, and that their development team is actively working to resolve issues reported by the community. And then they link to the patch notes, and those issues are obviously the issues that haven't been fixed yet, which I'm going to touch on some of the more common ones that people are sort of probably wondering about, though not all of them. We also had this message by The Sims Direct over on Twitter, which also linked to the patch notes. And even before that, Krenrick had said there's another Sims 4 patch live, and this one was a small one. It was only 431 megabytes on Windows. When you do your update, you might think it's really big because it does a preparation, and that's like huge in the gigabytes usually, but then when they actually go to do the update, it's whatever the update size is, but that can vary depending on what your platform is, which is why I'm saying on Windows, but that's the EA app on Windows, because even Steam can be different even though it's also Windows. So the new version was 1.113.297 on Windows, but it wasn't even a full number update, and mods and CC weren't disabled, but please make a backup and be careful with your mods and CC anyways. That was right after the update went live. I haven't seen any reported issues with any mods at this point. Luth is still using the same, mod post from last time, and Deaderpool has actually cleared MCCC for the patch. The current version is 2025.1.1. That was the hotfix version that was released after the February 25th update. There is a known issue with MCCC, and that's not new. That's an existing issue where the tray import feature is not working properly, but Deaderpool has said that he has a fix and it will be in the next release, i.e. 2025.2, whenever that comes out. So I'm just throwing this up here just in case you do have any issues, but as Krenrick said, mods and custom content weren't even disabled with this update, even though they usually are with most updates. So the main things that I would suggest you do is, as Krenrick said, this too, is back up your saves. I still repair my game in the EA app after I update, and I also delete my local thumb cache. The rest of these steps here are if you do happen to have any problems. These are things that you can follow. But since hopefully you shouldn't, I'm not going to cover it. Just showing it there as a reference. So here are the patch notes. So essentially they pulled together the series of fixes and adjustments based on our feedback. That was the same as what was said over on Discord. So there were these 3 for base game multi-pack, 2 of which linked to forum bug reports. So Sims will now be paid hourly based on their skill level for offering paid mentoring, regardless of which packs you own. So you do not need the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack for that, because that is a base game feature. There was an issue with the lock camera position from the bracelet category. So now you can zoom in and out with ease, because when you would go in, it would be like zoom. I noticed that it zoomed right in there. And of course, some of the bracelets are actually for the arm and you couldn't see them because it would just stay locked in on the hand. Anyways, so that's good. That's been fixed. So then they went on to say, we have advised the burglar to avoid stealing certain objects which can't be added back into household inventories. Your toilet stalls and more are now safe from being irretrievably stolen. So I'm hoping that also means things that are like mementos that you can't replace are also included in that. Then they went on for cats and dogs and horse ranch. The buttons to change position in pelt in pet paint mode for cats, dogs, and horses are back. Maybe it is pelt. Your pets can now again strike a pose while you paint their harder to reach spots. Now, the most of them were for business and hobbies, these bug fixes, as you can see here. And even with all of these bug fixes, only 4 linked to reports on the EA forums. And that very top one linked to a report that wasn't fixed. It's still outstanding, and I will cover that too as something that, even though it was noted here, it wasn't fixed. Though it's possible that it was partially fixed. But anyways, so that customer sims will now water any plants which need watering when the tend garden or tend and harvest garden business activities are set, even those which are placed in planters. So there is a bug report where sims can't water in planters. So I'm guessing that maybe they can if it's a business activity, and perhaps maybe they can if it's a club activity, which is get together. That I'm speculating on. I never had this problem. But the actual bug, which is that they can't water plants in planters or in the cottage living mounds, that's still open. Next, employees will no longer remove paintings which are displayed on walls when the scrap crafts employee task is set. And then ghosts will no longer attend small businesses unless they are set as preferred or required customers under the occult target customer category. That's one thing I don't actually like about the businesses, is that you can't say don't like exclude certain categories. You could only say include, and like I would like to say no kleptomaniacs at my business, or like in this case you couldn't actually exclude the ghosts because there was no exclude this category. It was only attracting a certain category. I mean, I guess I can kind of understand it. It is also how clubs work, but it would be kind of nice if there was an exclude as opposed to only include. But that's just me. Nothing to do with the bug. At least ghosts shouldn't be coming if they're not set as preferred. And they fixed an issue where group meals were being listed for sale at the same price as the single meals. And so the price for selling food on retail displays now reflect the number of servings. And now the rest, there weren't bug reports. So one is there were projections created by the Skillful Sleep Skill Mastery perk. They've been instructed to get back to work building skills on appropriate objects. They fixed an issue where classes set for employees on the hobby whiteboard were being reset after you traveled. Sims will no longer be able to enter a small business lot after closing time. They don't have to go home, but they can't stay there. And they adjusted the cost to prepare and sell prices of some candy recipes to make them more profitable for sale on retail displays in small businesses. Tattoos that contain custom content now have modded indicator in the in-gallery to prevent confusion. Pack settings are now available for players who own only base game and businesses and hobbies, allowing you to enable or disable small business events. Notifications about inaccessible ticket kiosks will no longer trigger on lots which aren't assigned to the small business. That's something that I had noticed. I just ignored it. Creating a preset small business when buying a small business venue will now show correct small business name in all notifications. Fixed an issue where the employee section of the career panel did not shrink down correctly when minimized. The source of the unexplained glowing lights around Nordhaven train station has been identified and contained. They fixed an issue with Micro's ribbon mic microphone stand disappearing when zooming out. And they resolved an issue with a pair of trousers expanding in unexpected areas when the stomach body slider was adjusted. So there's 16 bug fixes here for the pack, but there are a couple, including one that was noted, that wasn't fixed. So here's the bug report that was linked to from the patch notes with respect to watering plants in planters. However, it is still open. The basic bug report just says that water all isn't working. And when I went and read through this report, which you can see it has a lot of upvotes, 337. The main thing that I'm seeing is that the issue is with the square planters or the cottage living mounds. And if you have a sim go to water all or tend garden, it's not working. They can't water the plants. You can do things like use a water sprinkler if it's outside. I don't know if move objects would work to put one inside. Planting in the ground does work. The issue seems to be primarily those things. Most people can plant and water in pots, but just not those planters. Though there are some exceptions along the way in the bug report. So a few things that are suggested there is that if you have eco lifestyle, you can you unlock them, I think, with the career, but you can use the unlocks entitlement cheat to get it, that are self-watering planters. So if you want, say, a greenhouse, so you have plant in the ground and you want to use those. The other one is just to use the pots because they do work for most people. Or if you have children in the house, water works. It's water all. That seems to be the problem. And children can't learn the gardening skill, so they only have the option to water. They don't have the option to water all, and it will work with them. There also was someone who had commented after the update, though I don't know if this was just them commenting after the update or if this actually is a change since the update, where someone came over and was autonomously watering and that worked. But some people were saying that even gardeners didn't work, but then other people said they didn't. So there seems to be a bit of a mixed bag, and it's possible that the update did change things a little bit, so maybe it's not as bad. But this is the bug report. There was also someone commenting there down in Sims Land that they had linked to Sims file share, something that maybe will fix the issue. I haven't tried that, but that's something you could try if you use mods, if you don't want to try the other non-mod options. Now next, this has nothing to do with the pack and is just probably one of the more common bugs that I'm seeing over on the forums right now. It has 1,100 votes. It did have 187 Me Too's on the archive thread, because they were on Answers HQ and they got moved to an archive section, which they're still actively looking at and trying to fix. And that February 25th update actually had a lot of things that were fixed from that archive section. But essentially, this is one where the weather effects are occurring inside structures. For most people, it seems to be a visual thing with rain and snow showing like they're coming in the house, but they usually don't actually pile or have anything on the ground inside for the most part, though I did see some people comment that their Sims were getting struck by lightning inside the house. Obviously, the workaround is just to disable your rain and snow and your storms in your environments and the options. But, if you'd like to have those going, then that's not so good. But it is something that you can try. And I haven't even seen a bug fix mod for this issue, which makes me think it's maybe not that easy of a fix, because I would have thought if it was an easy enough fix, one, they may have already fixed it, and two, we might have got a bug fix mod from a modder, but we haven't yet. So that is something that hopefully they're going to be able to figure out and get a fix for sooner rather than later. So this next issue doesn't mention that it pertains to the new pack, but I think it does from reading through the various reports. But what happens is that when you mostly go to travel, you'll get the season selector screen coming up that you have to select your screen when you go to before you can travel somewhere. So Crinrig links to a possible workaround, and that is showing here. So for this person, this is where they specifically say that it started occurring when they turned on discovery quests through Trashly. So you go and talk to Trashly and they'll pop up and say, "Oh, do you like to turn on discovery quests?" Say no, that happened, because this is what's going to happen. If you say yes, you get this issue. They went through and then tested various options, and the only time that it happened for this person was when they enabled discovery quests through Trashly, and then when they travel, the issue occurs with the season selector screen coming up. So they went through and they reset the discovery quests, settings, repairing the game, none of it worked, except for that they then realized that if they did all of that and then loaded into another save that didn't have the problem, and then they went back into the save with the issue while discovery quests were off, it did fix it for this person. So I did have this issue, but it happened to me while it was in early access, and I didn't actually realize the issue was tied to Trashly. But so I was like, tried all sorts of things and didn't think about this particular option. So what I did, because it was a new save, is I actually disabled seasons, went into the game with seasons disabled, saved, went out, and went back in with seasons back being enabled again, and that fixed the issue with the season selector screen. Another thing that people in this bug report are saying, that if you turn on the discovery quest through Trashly, in addition to having the issue with the season screen coming up all the time, for some people, and this also includes me, it makes the discovery quests repeat and repeat and repeat, and it reset all of my game settings, my game options, to what the default options are. So, and I don't have many of mine on default. Most of mine are not. So I have some naps in that I didn't vote in because I usually have that disabled. But I realized pretty soon that it was, and I went in and changed it. So luckily it didn't have too much of an impact, but it did have a little bit, and it was just a test save. But that's something else to watch if you do have this issue. But the workaround is just say no to Trashly, and if you have had the issue, to go and do what this person has suggested, and hopefully that will work for you. So another issue that is affecting some people, and that's been around for quite a long time, is save game corruption. So this particular one has 104 upvotes, but it's just really an overview post. It's not actually being investigated or monitored, because instead Krenrick links to all of the 8 different ones that are being monitored, and I did go through all of those reports, which I'm not going to go over them in detail. This is just here as an FYI for you, and I did get the upvote counts for all of them at that time. The most common one is that the save is corrupting if you have a lot of residential rentals in your save game, and to use that particular thread. That one has 95 upvotes. But there are, if it adds up, they do add up to a fair number, more than the 114 on this, but there probably is some overlap too between these numbers that are showing here and that 114. And Krenrick then goes on to have some troubleshooting. She says the issue is really hard to pinpoint, but there are a few things that can accelerate the issue. So while the issue is not caused by mods, it can be influenced by mods and cheats, especially if you create a lot of residential rental units in your save game. And so that's probably the biggest issue. Because that had 90, was the one with the ones with a lot of residential rentals. So I personally wouldn't recommend, if you're going to use residential rentals, don't have a lot of them in your save game, and don't use cheats on them either. But also another thing that can cause problems is save game size. So the issue usually typically happens on larger save games, which probably tend to be older ones also. But there are a few factors that can contribute to the save game size that you can keep an eye on, which can help keep the save game size down. So if you have a lot of huge houses in the world with lots of objects, try and keep the number of those down. If you're not playing on certain lots, don't have them jam-packed with stuff in them. Just have them as a shell, so you just see them from the outside and don't worry about what's inside because you're not playing with them. She's not saying to not have it on lots you're playing on. Also, photos, sims taken game. Try to only keep the photos that you really like and that contribute to your gameplay. Delete everything else, because photos take a lot of space in the save. They can make your save file quite a lot bigger. And if you have lots of sims, the game creates sims at abundance. Delete the ones you don't use from time to time. Unfortunately, if it starts to happen, there's usually nothing you can do. But this is a serious issue, but it also probably isn't one that's very easy for them to fix, because you could see there's all different issues there going on, and really none of them have a lot upvotes compared to some other bugs. So of course there are a lot of other bugs, but these are just two of the main ones that a lot of people are concerned with, the save corruption and the weather inside. And then I thought I would mention a couple of the new ones to do with the pack, especially since one was possibly fixed but wasn't in the update. But I'm curious if you have done the update and if you had any issues with it or if it helped you in your game. I'd love to know in a comment below. But that's going to be it for this video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!